Dr. Joe Dispenza is an absolutely incredible human being, and I'm super grateful that his work entered in my life. I want to just tell you my testimony. I want to tell you my experience with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and what it means to me, the education behind it. Maybe I'll go into some of that, as well as just some stories of how I've applied his knowledge in my own life. So who is Dr. Joe Dispenza? He's a chiropractor. That was basically his former life. And he basically had this incredible experience where he fell off a bike, snapped a bunch of things in his back, and he was told like he needed this very intense surgery. And at that time, he had been doing lots of research into all these different ways of healing the body without the medical system and without, basically just using the mind and in a more spiritual sense. And so he was very convinced when he had this back surgery, or when he had this opportunity to have this back surgery, that it was possible for him to heal the unhealable with just his mind or himself. And so he went out and he ended up doing it. He basically completely healed his back. And what he did was he would sit there in silence, and he knew the back really well as a chiropractor. So he actually could visualize the way that it should have been. So what he did is he created the image of a perfectly aligned back, and he had his eyes closed and he was creating that image, and he believed that there was something, a higher power that could hear him, that loved him, that could understand him, he was describing God in every sense of the word. And he knew that if he just gave this to God, God would be able to figure it out. And so he does it, he heals himself, and he committed himself for life, that he would commit his life to helping other people do this exact same thing, that he would figure out the mind-body connection and how it works, and the work that he's gone on to do, the amount of people and the testimonies. If you go to his YouTube channel, Dr. Joe Dispenza, you can listen to hundreds of people share their testimonies of being in these incredible diagnoses, cancers, Parkinson's disease, and all sorts of things like that, completely flipping, completely reversing, sometimes in a matter of 1 week. He does these extensive week-long retreats where he gets, I don't know how many people, 500, 1,000 people all together, whether on the beach or they're in an arena or whatever, and they're doing all these sort of meditations together, and they're that energy together. He's even got all these machines that kind of measure like what's going on in the brain, what's the activity going on. It's just incredible. His movie about this is so cool. It's called Source. You can get it on his website. I'm not in no way affiliated with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm literally just got inspired driving and thought, what is information that I would want to know? Talking to my past self, who was young, 22, 23, just kind of lost in the world. And Dr. Joe's work literally saved my life. I was on the brink of death. I really was considering just ending my life, and I found Dr. Joe's work through multiple people recommending. I read the first book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's not his first book. He's written a lot of different books, but Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself talks about how basically every single thing in your life, whether it's the people in your life, the places you go, the associations, the groups you're involved in, whatever, you have certain emotions towards those people, those places, those things. And you might feel anxious about one of them. You might feel angry about something, and you have these attachments. And this whole book is basically about breaking those attachments, becoming aware of how you're actually attaching your emotional responses to the things currently happening in your reality, in your world, and then becoming so aware that you can't continue to act that same way. So his process is through meditation, through essentially silence, being able to cultivate this level of awareness where you become so aware of the way that you're behaving. He talks a lot about being on autopilot and about how so many people are just living under the hormones of stress, meaning we have the parasympathetic nervous system and we have the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is like the lion. The lion is resting, and the lion is, though it's the king, it's very quiet and it rests, and it, a lot of people don't realize this about lions, but lions don't go attacking. If they see a herd of animals, they don't always attack the alpha male. They're actually looking for the weakest animal in the pack most of the time. Otherwise, they're just feeding off of dead animals. But they're going to actually attack the weakest animal because they're calculating their attack based on what's going to be safest for them. So the lion is always resting, and then it hunts a little bit. That's kind of what parasympathetic nervous system is like. 90% of the time, just resting. Sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, going on the attack, stressed out. It's like running from a bear as a human, whatever it might be. We're living in such a fast-paced world. We're so overstimulated with social media, with the drugs that people are taking and all these things, that we can actually switch on this sympathetic nervous system, the one that's fight or flight, and it can be on 90% of the time instead of 10%. So it's supposed to be 90-10 or whatever it might be, something along those lines, because it's okay to go into that response. It's okay to stress yourself out, work out, put yourself under stress. But if you're living from that stressful state and you're producing those hormones and the chemicals associated with stress, then obviously that's not good. You're going to be so stressed out. When the body's stressed out, it can't rejuvenate, right? It doesn't burn fat very well. That's why if people are stressed out all the time, they're going to be putting on weight. Anyway, Dr. Joe talks a lot about these nervous systems and how when you get into a deep state of prayer or meditation, you basically can turn off that sympathetic response and you can calm your nervous system down and reset. And you can, through the process of meditation or prayer, you can also cultivate elevated emotions. Dr. Joe's work in his book, Becoming Supernatural, he actually has these graphics where he shows how different emotions have different waves, meaning they have different energies. Energy is just a wave, and so really high frequency energies go like this, and very low ones go like this. So these ones are more matter, these ones are less matter. And ones that are really fast are things like gratitude, things like abundance, freedom, hope, peace. I don't even know if hope would be. Hope would actually be probably more in the middle, but peace and joy and love and bliss and these kind of things, those are very high vibrating emotions. And lower ones would be anger, frustration, antagonism, things like that. These are very low tones, and you actually can find these emotional tones and energies and emotions across many different systems. This is something I've seen in 3 or 4 different spiritual, or whatever you want to call it, personal development systems, where people talk about how emotions vibrate at different levels. And so if you want to change your baseline level of emotional state, if you're constantly stressed out, if you're constantly worried, you're constantly angry, you're constantly judging people, because for me, when I was in that very low state, I was judging people all the time. I would be judging my family members every day. I wasn't doing that much in my life, but in my mind, I was judging people. I was having those thoughts, judging people, getting angry with people, and the same thoughts every single day. But as I started getting aware of it, I was like, why am I doing that? And so through Dr. Joe's work, just doing some of his very basic meditations that I would find on YouTube. He has some on Apple Music, morning meditations, things like that. Basically just sitting in silence and sensing the world around me. And also in the Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself book, he talks a lot about surrendering to a higher power, kind of giving this to a higher power, surrendering those emotions that you're feeling, that judgment, that anxiety, that fear, that anger, surrendering it to a higher power, asking it to give it to you and bring it back to you in a new way that's just right for you. And, for a long time, I kind of thought Dr. Joe's stuff, when I had just heard about it, it sounded very it sounded hippy-dippy, is what a lot of people will say. But when you see the testimonials and you experience it for yourself, what happens when you start to spend some time resting, spend some time basically being there, just be there, exist, and practice actually experiencing higher tone emotions, higher level emotions. Tone is just a certain frequency, a certain energy. So spending time there. Now, when you get hit with that same problem in the day where you go and you're about to judge that person, you've already cultivated so much peace. Jesus talks a lot about connecting the heart and the mind and having that level of peace. And I think Jesus spent a lot of time in silence. It's all over the Bible. You hear it where he went off in the distance, went off in the mountains. Jesus was praying. He was spending a lot of time with the Lord. He even talks a lot about how his disciples asked him, like, how should I pray? And Jesus says, all these people have it wrong. They're all talking to God. They're asking God for everything. And he said, all you need to do is say the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That prayer where you're saying, God, you are greater than I, basically. You are, forgive me for all my sins, all these sort of things. And you're surrendering. You're saying you believe that there's a higher power that you can surrender to. And then you sit there, and Jesus says to just be there. He says, just don't do so much talking. And I've just taken that and seen how all these different systems combine that, I think Jesus was doing a lot of what Dr. Joe is talking about. He was connecting to what Dr. Joe calls the source of all life. His movie is called Source because he really believes that the source of life, in other words, God, is not only everywhere around you, but also within you. And that's what Christianity teaches. That's actually what a lot of major religions teach, is that the source of life is not only everywhere around you, but also within you. And you have that in you. In a sense, you are that. As a spiritual entity, as a spiritual being, as a light being, you are that. And that's a beautiful realization. And that is what Dr. Joe's work has done for me. It has grown me so much closer to God, allowed me to just be a lot more grateful for my life, grateful for the people that are in my life, grateful for the things that I have, all the connections, and all the synchronicities, all of the times that I think that's probably the number one thing that I've experienced from Dr. Joe's work. If you're looking for like a benefit of the work that he teaches, which is basically not working, but it is really, that he, the creator, the universe, the source, God, he works for you. As you spend time with him and you create this relationship, he begins to be sort of like a puppet master in your life, bringing you the right person right here, the right opportunity right here, and aligning your life so that he tells you, hey, I know what you're doing. I'm on the same page. Thank you for communicating, creating that relationship. So that's the way I look at it, that spending time in silence, spending time in meditation, and learning from these different teachers, it allows you to build this relationship with the Lord, with God, and it allows you to tap into who you truly are on just such a deeper level. And this is what the world needs more of. The world needs more of these higher frequency energies and not so much more of these lower frequency energies. You can think of the lowest energy is matter itself, right? Matter is very low energy of all the things in this world. So the less matter we are, the more energy we are, the more we are truly being who we are as spiritual beings. And that's who we are. We are souls living on this planet. That's who we are. So we're meant to love each other. We're meant to uplift each other. We're meant to be grateful for life, and we're not meant to be angry at each other and holding grudges against each other and just tearing each other down and dramatizing everything and judging everybody. And yes, this is the way that our circuits are wired, but it doesn't mean we have to allow that to affect our life. We can take charge and actually set a destiny. We can set a future for ourselves and not be so much the effect of everything. So I hope that if you're watching this video, I hope you found value. I hope you go and look into Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. You Are the Placebo is a book I've read a decent amount of it, not the whole thing. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, amazing. Becoming Supernatural, by far the best book I've ever read from him. So good, so many details and amazing things in there. His meditations are available for purchase. I have benefited a lot from his various meditations. I really enjoy what he teaches. And wow, I mean, he's got lots of podcasts, YouTube videos. I mean, if you have any interest in this idea of scientific evidence for God, that is really what Dr. Joe has done. He has proved that there's something much greater than even you spiritually. There's something much beyond your soul and you. So, hope this helps.